For more on the shooting and how something like this might be prevented, let's bring in Bernard Zapor, former special agent in charge for the ATF and faculty associate at Arizona State University's School of Criminology and Criminal Justice. These shootings seem to go in clusters, and now we have yet another one in California, the Geneva Presbyterian Church in Laguna Woods. Would you guess we're going to see some kind of weird connection to what happened in Buffalo yesterday?
Unfortunately, we are seeing a statistical trend in the United States of more mass casualty events like this, not only in clusters, but in trends and over the long haul, and for a variety of apparent motives. One of the things that investigators have to be very careful of is the motive initially is somewhat irrelevant. The one thing that all of these shooters have in common, going all the way back to Columbine in 1998, is sociopathy. They lack empathy or conscience, and they are exercising this thing out of a self-aggrandizement and ego-based narcissism, and they're not human beings when they're there killing other humans. That's where the tragedy lies. As a nation, the mental and behavioral health aspect of this should be our concentration.
I read a book once upon a time called The Sociopath Next Door. It indicated that roughly 1 in 100 people in this country have sociopathic tendencies. Does that seem like a realistic number to you?
There's a number of studies on mass casualty events, active shooters, and you look that some people can be socialized from their exposure into sociopathy. They can be exposed into a level of hate that removes their human conscience or empathy. And traditional or contemporary training for surviving mass shooting events teaches people that although the person looks like a human being, they don't look like a monster. They are in fact a machine. And they have to be treated with the fact that if you beg for your life, you're talking to a robot. And this is true in every one of these events, from Las Vegas to the church shootings to all of them, is that we get caught off guard with our initial encounters, if they're not shooting, that they're human, when in fact they are just an automaton. And this is the risk.
But a church, I mean, I went to church this morning, and, you know, my pastor was grieving what happened in Buffalo yesterday. Why does someone then take out his frustrations, I guess, on a church, the Presbyterian Church, again, in Laguna Woods, California?
Places of worship are of a specific vulnerability, and that is when we go to a place of worship, oftentimes we're sitting there physically, but we're detached emotionally and spiritually, and it takes that much longer to collect ourselves to act in our survival. In terms of why would somebody target a church, the motives and the intent are the fact that as human beings, we're unique, that we have choice. There is no bottom to human evil, just as there's no ceiling to human goodness. And if you're on the deplorable side, if you're on the sociopathic side, a place of worship is the ultimate target.
Because what? You expect that people aren't going to be armed there, aren't going to be, you know, shooting back at you if you decide to pull a gun in the middle of the service?
Unfortunately, it's probably for a simple, evil satisfaction.
Yeah. So you want to bring hatred and evil and suffering and mourning to a place that's designed to be, you know, supposed to be the house of God.
When you look at these historically, and unfortunately there's more and more to study because there's more and more of these events, that appears to be the case when it comes to places of worships. And it's something that for crisis intervention teams and a combination or a partnership with law enforcement and behavioral health officials, this needs to be the source of many considerations when one looks at somebody who's telegraphing their punches, whether they're online and the statements they're making, they've actually made overt threats. When people are concerned and call in, it has to be taken absolutely seriously, because if they're verbalizing those things, there's always a chance.
Again, it seems like we've had such a spate of these. There was the black nationalist who shot up a subway here in New York City. There was the event in Buffalo yesterday, now Laguna Woods, California. Will they continue to repeat until we get some kind of a handle on this? Are they inspiring one another?
John, the concerning thing here is that if you look at all the active shooters, let's even go back 10 years, they share a very strong commonality, regardless of what their professed hate is or angst or enemy in common, and that is this self-absorbed aggrandizement, need for attention, and that's really what the motive is. It makes it easier when somebody hates Hispanic Americans and drives to El Paso, Texas Walmart, when somebody hates Christians or Muslims or Jewish people or African Americans. It gives them some context. Us as Americans, as neighbors, as friends, as victim families, it's something that we're expecting to hear is some context as to why. Because the ultimate, most undigestible answer is the fact that there is abject human evil.
Yeah.
It's demonstrated in these cases because if you lack empathy and conscience, there's no value of human life at all. And unfortunately, to answer your question, yes, it will continue.
I hope as you continue your teaching career there in Arizona, you can inspire a bunch of young people who can prevent maybe more of these from happening down the road. Bernard Zapor, former special agent in charge for the ATF, faculty associate at Arizona State University's School of Criminology and Criminal Justice. Bernard, thank you. And we'll be right back.